Welcome back. Act 2, Chapter 16, Ruth. Catherine was 5 years old when she began to scare me. Before my daughter, the only child I'd ever been close to was Timmy, who was basically pure sunshine wrapped in the form of a freckle-faced boy. Catherine was different from the start. She rarely cried, she didn't speak until she was nearly 15 months old, and she almost never laughed. I wasn't laughing a lot during those days either. Being perpetually exhausted and dead broke tends to dampen one's sense of mirth, so I didn't pay much attention to it. When Catherine was about a year and a half, I took her to a playground and put her in a bucket swing, the kind with the two holes for those chubby baby legs to dangle through. It was a beautiful mid-afternoon morning. The leaves on the trees surrounding the park were brilliant shades of crimson and gold, and the sun gently warmed my skin. At first, we had the park all to ourselves, which was nice. A few minutes after we got there, though, a group of moms arrived. They all had kids around Catherine's age. The moms wore the kind of expensive-looking exercise clothes that typically don't see the inside of a gym, and they carried pretty diaper bags with all sorts of pockets and loops for coordinated accessories like sippy cups and wipes. One of them had brought along a bottle of bubbles with a wand, and another had a big quilt for all the babies to sit on. The group stayed in a clump most of the time I was there, the moms squealing and snapping pictures with their phones every time one of the babies reached out to grab a bubble. After a while, a mom carried her son over to the swing next to Catherine. When she gave him a gentle push, her son giggled. They went on like that for a while. The mother pushed and the son giggled. The mother made exaggerated expressions and talked to her baby boy in a high-pitched voice. She caught Catherine's attention too. I watched as Catherine turned her head and studied the mother. "Well, hello there." The woman gave Catherine a toothy grin. "Do you like to swing, princess?" Catherine didn't smile back. "Look at you, so small and so serious." The mom began talking in a voice meant to be funny. Catherine wasn't having any of it. The woman hadn't paid attention to me before, but now I can see her taking me in. I had an old cloth tote bag with a cinnamon raisin bagel wrapped in a paper towel for me and Catherine to share, a spare diaper, and a water bottle to refill at the playground's fountain. It wasn't just my age that separated me from the group of moms with their stackable Tupperware containers of blueberries and rice puffs and their organic apple juice boxes. I tried to crack a joke. I guess I was pretty lonely, and as I've mentioned, Catherine wasn't the best conversationalist. "Maybe she can be Wednesday for Halloween. You know, that little girl from the Addams family who never smiles." The mom looked shocked. She even stopped swinging her son for a minute, and his smile slipped away too, like we were contagious. The mother's cheer returned quickly, but it seemed a bit forced now. "Is she your little sister?" I'd gotten that question before. Most people assumed Catherine and I were siblings, or I was her babysitter. "No, she's my daughter." "Oh, I'm sorry. It's that you're so..." Her little boy's grunts turned into a start of a wail. He wanted to be pushed again. His mom's attention snapped back. "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, my little man. Mommy's here. Want to swing up to the sky and grab a cloud?" The woman didn't talk to us anymore, but I noticed her glancing at Catherine a few more times. Catherine wasn't doing anything unusual. She was just swaying back and forth and looking around. But to this mom, it seemed as if Catherine was a puzzle she couldn't quite figure out. After a few minutes, I took Catherine out of the swing and we walked to the bus stop to make our way back to the 300 square foot room I sublet from another single mom who had a 2-bedroom apartment. The trip took 30 minutes each way, but the playgrounds around this part of the city were much nicer than the one by me. The only time we've ever gone to that one, I found a used condom next to the slide and a broken glass from bottles of booze in the grass. I try not to think too much about that other mom's reactions to Catherine, but I guess it stayed lodged somewhere in the back of my mind. When we got back home, I watched Catherine in the kitchen sink because we didn't have a tub. Even when she splashed her hands in the soapy bubbles, her expression didn't change. She didn't coo or laugh. She seemed as detached as a scientist. I tried using the high-pitched voice of the mom at the park. Ooh, bubbles, splashy splash. Catherine looked at me like I was a fool, and I guess she wasn't wrong. I went back to talking like a normal person, and in time, Catherine found more words to communicate with me. When she was 3, she had a pretty advanced vocabulary, so I guess starting to talk late didn't hurt her one bit. I wasn't alarmed that Catherine didn't exhibit a wide range of emotion. Truthfully, I'd be even more exhausted if I had to take care of a toddler whose mood tickled like a metronome between angry and joyful and sulky. I liked my quiet daughter exactly as she was. There was just one thing. Shortly after she turned 5, we were waiting for the bus to go buy groceries. At this time, I felt like I spent half my life waiting for or riding buses. And something on the sidewalk behind the glass bus shelter caught her eyes. I couldn't exactly see what Catherine was doing, but it looked like she was poking at the ground with a stick. I was distracted and tired. I was working as a telemarketer from home 30 hours a week because it was one of the few jobs I could do that didn't require childcare. And I also took whatever babysitting gigs I could get from other parents on the block. Most of them couldn't afford much, and sometimes they couldn't pay me at all, but they always managed to give me a little something, even if it was just a hot meal or hand-me-down clothing and supplies. By the time I finished rustling in my wallet for the bus pass and walked around behind the shelter to check on Catherine, she was squatting down, staring at something intently. It was a dead squirrel. I instinctively recoiled. The squirrel must have been hit by a car and flung through the air before landing in this spot. Its stomach was partially torn open, probably from crows feasting on it. You could see a bit of its pink insides. Most little kids would have been grossed out or burst into tears. The squirrel still had a fuzzy tail and a brown fur and was recognizable as a formally cute animal. But not Catherine. She used the stick to gently tap on its limp little paw. What are you doing? She gazed up at me, then resumed exploring the animal's carcass with her stick. Stop it! I almost screamed the command. Catherine didn't seem to hear me. She leaned even closer to the mutilated creature. Normal kids don't do this. I grabbed her arm hard and yanked her away. Later, I noticed small purple bruises in the shape of my fingerprints marring her upper arm. It was a replica of the injury my mother had inflicted on my arm the night I got her off of Timmy. You know how parents always say, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you, before they spank their child. I swear it was true. Seeing those marks on her soft little arm gutted me. But what I couldn't and still can't get out of my mind was Catherine's expression when she looked up at me as I interrupted her examination of the dead squirrel. Instead of fear or disgust or sadness, any of the emotions you might expect to see in a little kid who just discovered a gory animal carcass, Catherine's faded denim eyes were serene and gentle. They were James' eyes. The whole long night, I didn't sleep despite being so exhausted that every inch of me ached. Even though I'm not scheduled to work at Sam's today, I rise before the sun and quietly move to the kitchen to make coffee. I plan to do what I usually do on my days off, catch up on laundry, clean the kitchen and bathroom, and go to the library to do my check-in. Uh-oh. Catherine's door is shut. I've barely seen her in the last 24 hours. She didn't come home until late last night, long after I'd gotten into bed. Her absence feels significant. I bring a mug of coffee into the living area and sit down on the couch, savoring my first sip. At times like these, when the apartment is quiet and the fresh slate of a new day is before me, it's easier to pretend everything will work out. The mistake I've made, the choices that may not be the right ones, all will be smoothed out in time. Okay. The road ahead will be easier than the bumpy portion I've traveled this far, I try to tell myself. It's 3 a.m. If 3 a.m. is the darkest hour of the soul, then dawn is the flip side. Few things conjure more hope in me than a sunrise. On the coffee table in front of me is the journal Catherine brought. Is titled Mocking Me. Tell me your life story, Mom. I pick it up and turn a few pages. Maybe I can write down a nugget for Catherine and leave the page open for her to see. Why is she playing these mind games? As a sort of peace offering, even though I'm not sure exactly why I feel the need to extend one. I just have the feeling she's upset with me. Catherine doesn't have many friends. All that moving around we did when she was younger prevented her from forming enduring ties. Plus, school and work always took up so much of her time and energy, she didn't have a lot left over for socializing. It's a little odd that she picked last night to go see a movie, so soon after Dr. Chen told us our days of spending meaningful time together were coming to an end. What? I find a page in the journal that has the prompt, describe when you first knew you were going to be a mom. How did you feel? This is both an easy and a hard question to answer. I find a pen and write the truth. Finally. I felt everything all at once, Catherine. Terrified and happy and sad and determined, and all by the very thought of you. I felt everything. I still feel it all, every single day. Okay, so that's the end of chapter 16. Okay, so why is Ruth playing with Catherine's intelligence? She's taken all of these steps to avoid talking face to face with Catherine by writing stuff in her own journal, and then now she's writing in Catherine's stuff. I don't know. I don't know why she's doing it. I really want to know why she's doing that instead of just sitting down and talking to her daughter and telling her everything. But I guess we shall find out in the chapters to come. See you in chapter 17. Bye.